resume our session. So Hare Krishna. Let's start with Mangalachan and then we continue the session.
Okay.
Ready? Ajnanatimirandasya ज्ञानजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन
भूतले
स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश रूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं तवादूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं Shri Radha Krishna Padam Lita Shri Vishakha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishvanu Devi Namami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvesha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Te Saraswati Deve Gauravani Kachayini Visheshashundari Paschate Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna everyone. Krishna Chaitanya, you got your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, for I can only chat like to everyone.
Yes, which is great, isn't it? You can chat with me as well if you like.
I know, but I can't chat to anyone else.
No. Do you need to chat with anyone?
Yep.
Then you can send a message to everyone. Everyone will be part of it. Otherwise, what will happen? We will have a session where I'm saying something and some of you listening, but maybe you will chat with Karthik or Ishan. And then what will happen? Then somebody will get disturbed. So the way the settings been done, then you could chat either just with me or you can chat with everyone. Like when you just said, hello, hi, that went to everyone. Okay, so this is a good.
Can I go to the toilet?
Of course, go for it. Yes. All right, we are just going to do a quick recap. And some of the devotees, all right, Karthik. So Karthik, just for you, because this is your first session. Now, some of the devotees, because the weather has been changing now, the weather is beautiful out here. I'm in South London. And some of the devotees, they won't come because they are there playing out. So they join a bit late or sometimes they catch up on the recording. So we record this session and they go on the YouTube, which is open for anyone to look at. Right, so just for your information. But the way we usually go, it's always interacting, very interacting. So feel free to shout anytime you like. Anything you didn't get it, feel free. And what we're doing at the moment, so we are doing Bhagavad Gita. But within Bhagavad Gita, we have taken break. We are about to start chapter 6. Chapter 5 was where we were. But before we resume back on chapter 6, so again, just to give a brief about Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, 700 verses. Bhagavad Gita is split into 3 different sections. So if you think about 18 chapters split into 6, so we got 3 sections. The first section is on Karma Yoga, which is on actions, how to do actions. The middle one from chapter 7 to chapter 12, that's Bhakti Yoga, devotion. And the last 6 chapters, they are on Jnana, knowledge. And don't forget, if you don't remember, I will remind you enough so you won't forget. Okay, but again, I appreciate this is your first session, so it might be everything new for you, but don't get intimidated when devotees will join middle of class, because we know some of them, they are taking chess lessons, or they are in football and they are joining a bit late. And that's another reason we are thinking we might, usually summertime, which is approaching now, we move to 6 to 7. Otherwise in winter we come back to 5. So we haven't shifted to 6 to 7 yet, because those who attended, they said that they would like to keep it. But those who are missing, they send me the message that, well, we won't be able to make it, or we might be a bit late. So obviously this is a third session, I think, which is obviously the time changed end of March. So this is, I think, fourth session in like that. But since we have started doing it, I think the attendance is going very thin. So devotees won't be able to make it. And unfortunately, somebody's grandmother expired. So that's the reason he wasn't able to make it. But well, things go on. It's a very hard time currently. So, right, we have taken the break. Then we are doing a seminar. So there are lots of presentations here, presentation slides, and the one we're doing at the moment. So this is what we usually do. We can read Bhagavad Gita, but then that might be a bit dry. So what we do, we always take a break. So Ram Navami, if you celebrate Lord Rama's appearance day, Ram Navami was there, Navratri was there. So sometimes we discuss that as well. But currently the series we are working on and has been going for a while now. So hopefully it will end soon and we will resume back to Bhagavad Gita. But even in this series, which is the journey of self-discovery, it's all based on Bhagavad Gita. So we refer to Bhagavad Gita verses, and sometimes we chant. And there was a time, which of course, when we will go back to Bhagavad Gita, we do a bit of Kirtan as well. And Adi, who is playing chess today, he loves chanting. So that's the reason he wasn't able to make. So there are few clashes happening at the moment. So just to let you know that we might more and more parents requesting to say. But of course, if more parents are saying to change it to 6 and less parents are here, or less kids are here, then it might be sensible to change it. Right, okay. So what are we doing at the moment, Karthik? That the journey of self-discovery. We have seen a few parts. So there are 6 different parts in it, the series. And just to check, Karthik, you can hear me okay? I'm not going too fast. Again, as I said, it might be very new for you. But you could follow me? Is that good? Well, I guess you're no. Okay,
Yeah.
you're no. Yes, fantastic. Yes. So as I said, if there's no background noise coming from your side, which is great. In which case, if you like to keep yourself unmute, by all means, go for it. If any background noise will come, I will mute you. But feel free to unmute yourself and ask any question anytime. You can raise your virtual hand, your physical hand in the chat. Keep it interactive, right? And that's the beauty of new devotees joining. So when I say devotee, that's you. I'm referring to you. Okay, we all are devotees here. Devotees, do you know what devotee is? Okay, Karthik, your voice, if you're saying, is very, very, very low. I could barely.
No.
Oh, right. Okay, I can hear you now, which is great. Okay, so let's continue. So devotee is someone who has the faith in Krishna, in God in general, and who understand that I'm not the only one doing everything. Somebody out there is responsible for all the good results I'm getting. And of course, all the bad results happening to me is due to my bad karma. So I should purify my consciousness to be more aware of what I'm doing. But before I do that, I need to understand who am I? And this is the series we are doing it. So there are many slides in this particular, and we have been doing it for 2-3 classes. So I will go very fast, but I'm sure you will be able to follow. So what we say, who am I? So different people recognize themselves as different labels, right? And again, we have seen it. So that's the reason I'm flickering through the slides. And you would see some. Sorry, Karthik, say it again, please.
Where's Bhagavad Gita?
Where is Bhagavad Gita? Well, this is based on Bhagavad Gita. Well, what we're doing at the moment is based on Bhagavad Gita. You will see Bhagavad Gita verses very soon. As I'm saying, as I said it, that we are doing Bhagavad Gita. We have done chapter 5. We need to start from chapter 6, but we have taken a break and we are doing this presentation, which is based on Bhagavad Gita. So all the knowledge, all the wisdom you are getting here in this presentation, the journey of self-discovery, is based on Bhagavad Gita. Okay? And how do we understand? I will take you to the words. So what happens? You can read Bhagavad Gita, you can read the verses, but we need to know how to implement those verses. Yes, Karthik, you got your hands up.
So, do we have to buy the Bhagavad Gita?
You don't have to buy Bhagavad Gita. If you don't have it, certainly you can have Bhagavad Gita. It's always good to have your own copy. So I've got my own copy. My son got his copy. And whenever we read, if you want to underline, if you want to make notes, we all do that. And we know this is our copy. We can always fall back on it. We can always.
Gita.
Okay. Well, if you don't have it at the moment, that's okay. There's no problem at all, because we are going to share everything with you. But yes, again, if you have Bhagavad Gita, it's really, really good to have. Okay. So for example, this is the verse from Bhagavad Gita. And in this, would you like to read what it says on the slide, please?
Yes.
Yes, go on, please.
Can I read in my mind?
It would be good if you can read it loud so everyone could hear. Embodied.
As.
Okay, sorry, go on.
I can't read the.
Okay, no worries. I will read it for you. Okay, so it says Krishna instructs. Lord Krishna instructs. So in Sanskrit it says Bhagavan Uvacha, right? So that's why it says Lord Krishna instructs as the embodied soul. Why does it say embodied soul? So we need to understand that's the reason we are. The soul is within the body, and that's why we are trying to understand the body a bit better. That's what we are doing, right? So sometimes in Bhagavad Gita, things are written in very coded way. So to understand that, we need to do the discussion, and we might have to go out of Bhagavad Gita, see how. So a lot of people, what do? They read one chapter or one paragraph or one theme, and they try to meditate. What does that mean? So what we could do, a lot of others, what they do, they remember the verses, they memorize the verses, and that's what they do. But others, they try to implement the knowledge in their own life. And then they say, right, okay, let's see what Krishna says here. So what Krishna says here in this slide, as the embodied soul. So what does that mean? Embodied. Embodied soul means the soul which is in the body, right? Soul is covered with the body. So this gives us the knowledge that within this body we have soul. And when we ask the question, who am I? Am I this body or am I the soul? So this is what Krishna says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 13. What this says, like the soul, when we are little boy, then we are in teenager, in youth, then we grow old, and then we die. But the body grows old, the soul doesn't. The body. The body grows old, but the soul doesn't, right? If you think about it, It's very similar that the body is growing, but the soul remains the same. And at the end of the death, what happens? That body goes out and the new body comes, the soul remains the same. That's the very first knowledge, wisdom, Krishna says. And now we can meditate on it. Meditate means we can think about it. When we are around us, we can speak to people about it. So you can speak to your parents about it. That this is what Bhagavad Gita says. What do you think about it? Do you think that I have a body in this body? Body is changing, you can see. There was a time I didn't have the specs, then I got the specs. What does that mean? Because there was a time when my eyes were good, but then I got the bad eyesight, let's say, right? Or my height was a meter. Then my height increased to 1.5 meters. So I can see my body is changing. But is there something within my body which is not changing? Because that's what Krishna is saying is what we call soul. And then if we see this, graphics are one of those things which remains with us for long. And if you see this picture, then this picture should remain with us all the time. Because especially currently what's happening from childhood to youth to old age, the one who remembers this will never lament. This is the direct perception. What? Yes, Karthik, please.
Who are those people?
This is just the picture which is illustrating that let's imagine there's one person. All of them, they are one person, but the different stages of that person. So that person was a little baby, and then the toddler, then started moving around, and then the teenager, then in youth, then a grown-up. Then if you see, started getting old, very fragile, could not sit anymore, could not lay down anymore, and right at the end, dies. So this is the life cycle of one person. This happens with everyone, right? But what's Krishna is saying? Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, the body is changing, but the person remains the same. And this is the wisdom we get it from Bhagavad Gita, right? If you again see this, there's a light which is moving, and that's the soul. The soul is the same. Soul does not get old, but the body does, right? The transformation of the body is happening. If we keep this in mind, we will never fight with anyone. We will never ever get envy or jealous with anyone, which means we will always be harmonious, right? We will always be happy. And that's the whole plan. What Krishna says to Arjun, that if you follow me, you will get what we call Satta Chitta Ananda, which is eternal conscious bliss. Like you will always be happy. Would you like to be happy?
Yes.
Yes. Who wouldn't like to be happy? Everyone would like to be happy. And there is another thing Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the symptom of the soul in the body is consciousness. How do we know we have a... So this is the analogy given, that we cannot, in this picture, if you see, we cannot see the sun, but we can see the sun radiations. We can see the sunlight, right? Yeah. So just by the light, we can see sun is there behind the clouds. Similar way, because we have the consciousness, we can say that the soul is there. Now there's a dead person, there's a live person. Dead body, live body. What's the difference? The live body is conscious.
Conscious.
So this is what we can understand. We can hear from whom? Hear from Krishna. And that's the reason we should read Bhagavad Gita again and again and again, and try to implement the knowledge in our daily life. If we will not, what will happen? We will not be conscious. And if you think about it, a lot of time this happens. If you think, parents would have said to you, concentrate, right? When you're preparing for your exam, maybe you're playing, you need to focus, you need to be fully aware, you need to be fully conscious, right? Why? Because whatever we do, We need the consciousness to be there, but consciousness is always distracted. Why? Because of senses. And again, these things we have discussed in past, so I don't expect you to get everything in one go. But again, that's the reason we keep reminding these. These are basic foundations, and we keep reminding ourselves. So always be conscious of that. Right. We will remind you this again and again. So we have different feelings, willings, thinking, awareness. Okay, these are, again, I'm going a bit fast because we are kind of doing the recap. Devesh and Devika has just joined. So Hare Krishna. Good to have you, Devesh and Devika. We got Karthik with us. So we are doing a quick recap. And the plan is that we get this sorted and we do the poll. We haven't done the poll for a while. So maybe a good plan to do a poll at some point. I think Aryan did put together something. Okay, this is another verse from Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says, that which pervades, or what pervades the soul, the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So this is what Krishna is saying. Now again, we haven't seen the soul. So how do we trust it? How do we put our faith in it? The reason we do, again, because we see the body is there. When somebody dies, the body is there. But the person is dead. And when the person is dead, we don't have any relationship with the body. Doesn't really matter which religion you follow. The body, once the soul has left, once the body is not conscious anymore, we get rid of the body. Either we throw the body, well, when I said throw, that's not a good way of saying it. We burn the body, cremate, we bury the body, right? But we don't keep the body with us. Body is useless to us. Why? Because soul is not there. And that's why. It's like a car. The car is there, but if the driver is missing, the car is of no use. Now, of course, within the same car, we can have a new driver. But what happens that the driver gets the new car. So it's just the point of perspective. Whether the car gets the new driver or the driver gets the new car, who gets the priority? In material world, where we sell new, well, we sell the new and we sell the old cars, you might think that the old car got a new owner. But in spiritual world, we say, or in spirituality, we discuss the way we say that the soul is the driver and the soul gets the new body. So this is just the analogy. Did you get that analogy, Karthik?
Yes.
Yes, fantastic. Like a car is there, in the car we need the driver. Similarly, in the body, we need the soul. The soul is the main reason the body is moving. If you see a moving car, you know the driver is inside, whether you can see the driver or not. Similarly, if you see a body moving, you know that the body is conscious, and that's the reason there is a soul in it. And this is what Bhagavad Gita is saying to us. And then there are different creatures, as we have seen it. But we say, where you see the presence of consciousness, the soul is there. So wherever you see the conscious, now think about it. You might say anything, trees, for example. You would have seen the trees, the plants, the shrubs, they grow, right? And then you think, well, do they have soul? Of course, because they are conscious. Now a stone is there. A stone doesn't move. A stone doesn't feel. A stone doesn't have consciousness. Hence, a stone doesn't have the soul. But we have discussed it in past that the stone has a different soul, which is called super soul. We will discuss the concept of super soul as well. But here we are saying soul, the normal, ordinary soul. Now we say ordinary, every soul is unique. Of course, if it's mine, it has to be unique. That's how we think. So what Krishna says, body appears to be alive, but that is so due to the presence of the soul. Now, if somebody will see the car moving, imagine somebody who hasn't seen the car in his own or her life ever, and will see the car moving and say, wow, amazing. What's this thing? well, this is a car and it's a rather beautiful car. But then you will say, well, how is this? The car is conscious? Well, no, the car is not conscious. The driver inside is. The driver, even though we can't see the driver, well, in this one we can. But this is the analogy, right? Now we have seen many great leaders. This is the example. He was there, he was the leader, but there was a time he had to leave. And people mourned. People had the feelings for him. People had desires that he will live more. People were thinking about it. But there was no movement in the body. Why? There was no consciousness there. There was the same body, but the soul is gone. Once the soul is gone, the body, as we discussed, is no more required, right? If you think about it, this is what we're saying. Now this is another. Anybody would like to say what this picture is saying? What do we get out of this picture? There are many things happening in this picture.
I will tell.
Yes, Karthik, what do you think? Any particular thing you like in this picture?
Yes. Some horses.
Some horses, yes. Or if you think about it, I think there is only one horse.
2 horses.
Are there 2 horses? I think that's, I think this is a different animal. Shivani is here. Shivani is my daughter. She's looking at the picture and trying to figure out. This is a horse. Is this horse as well?
I think this is a pig because it doesn't have like those top thingies. Look, that
Okay.
thing.
Ah, right. Okay. Right. I think the concept what we try to understand. Yeah. Sorry, Karthik. You were saying something?
It's a cow.
It's a cow. Yes. So the concept here is, if you think about it, the same soul moves from one body to another, but that body could also be the body of animals. How? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at the time of death, when we leave the body, whatever is our consciousness, we get that. And there is a story of King Bharat. King Bharat, his story is there. Anybody remembers the name of India? Any other name of India? Well, there's another name called Hindustan, but there's another name.
Bharat.
Bharat. Thank you, Devesh. Yes, Bharat. And Shivani is here next to me saying Bharat, Bharat as well.
And this picture is about life and death.
Picture is about life and death. Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So as we said, there are a few things we can see in this picture. Yes. On the left hand side, we can see this is like in the right in the middle. On the right hand side in white is the angel who is giving birth. And on the left hand side, this could be angel as well, but angel of death now, who is taking away. Now, of course, angels are angels. They are not. This is just a prediction. It's not that those who take life, they are like this bad. No, they are just doing their duty. For example, if you will go out on the road and drive the car, and if you do over speeding, somebody will come and say, here we go, this is your ticket. That doesn't mean that the person is bad. The person is the officer doing his or her duty, right? So that's the top one. Thank you, Devesh. It's about the life cycle of birth and death. And right in the middle, at the bottom, what it says is that it's not only the human life, but we do go through different species, and animal life, just one of them as well. And there are many of those. So this is what we could get out of it. Now, Bharat Maharaj's story is there. Very briefly, we did discuss it. He was a king, and on his name, India is still called as Bharat, even though a lot of people, or most of us, we remember as, or we readdress as India or Hindustan, but Bharat seems to be the least. But that was the reason. On his name, India got the name as Bharat. And his story, very interesting story, but we have discussed in the past, but I will keep it very short. So he was a king. Then he left the king. He said, I'm going to get enlightened. I'm going to go in the jungle. He went in the jungle. He left his whole empire, all his family, but then he got attached to a deer. So first was a king. So just he's the same guy, but just to remember which phase of his life he was in. So the very first one was King Bharat. And then the second one was Dear Bharat. Same guy, same person, but now he got attached to, he's not a king anymore because he's in the jungle, but he got attached to deer. And when he was leaving his body, he was supposed to be enlightened. Enlightened being, they don't get attached to anyone. But he did not get enlightened. He got attached to deer. And while he was leaving the body, he was thinking about that deer, that after me, who is going to take care of that deer? And that deer was a baby, like a calf. And then next birth he got. He wasn't supposed to get any birth, but because he could not be detached from deer, next birth he got was of deer. This is a story in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Puran. Next was that in deer, but he did not stay there as a deer for long. And that's why you see a lot of mosquitoes, for example. They just live for 2 hours, some of them, only for 2 hours. Why? Maybe because due to previous karma, they had to take birth as mosquitoes, but they won't stay there for long in that birth. So some of the animals you see, like the dogs, 10 years is a long time for them. Right? Why? Based on their previous karma, they had to. This is, now we will do, there is another series of Goloka chart where we see the upper planetary system and lower planetary system. We are in the middle on Earth. We can go higher and we can go lower. Animal kingdom is supposed to be lower than human. Why? Because humans are more conscious and aware, because we have the opportunity for spiritual upliftment. This is a big word, spiritual upliftment, not material upliftment. We do material upliftment. Upliftment is like where we can increase things, we can go up level higher up, we can have a bigger house, expensive cars, or costly shirt, t-shirt, the clothing, or anything we like, from iPhone 6 to iPhone 12. We can keep changing these things, but they will not make us happy for long. It's like when we say sweet. So Karthik, what's your favorite sweet?
Laddu.
Laddu. Let's say you will have laddu, and of course laddus are very different, depends on the raw material. It could be a very different thing. And I love laddus, like coconut laddus are great, right? Besan laddus are there, and there are a few more. But let's say whichever you like. If I will give you one, you will enjoy. If I will give you a second one, you might enjoy even more. But then I will give you the third one. And then because you have said this is your favorite thing, you will still have it. But when I will give you 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you will say, that's it. I cannot take it. Is it? How many laddus you can have in one go? You haven't tried it yet.
1 or 2.
1 or 2, which is fair enough. And this is what normal people do, right? We take one, and if we like it, we can have 2. We don't just keep eating it. Why? Why we don't? Somebody might say maybe because we are not hungry. Well, what if before your lunch or dinner, when you're really hungry, you will get 10 laddus? Well, the first laddu will taste very nice. But the 10th laddu, if you have to eat just because you're hungry, will not taste as good as the
First laddu.
Right? So think about it. That why? Because in the material world, things give us happiness, temporary happiness, we get it. But in spiritual, it's different. We will never get it. And if you think about when we go to the temple, we take the darshan, we do the kirtan, of course, we can get tired, but the body gets tired. But still, we could. Like we had, maybe you might have heard, We were just listening. We were just listening to the bhajan, the kirtan, and it's delicious. Delicious not only to the tongue, to the soul, right? So there are many more analogies on this, but this is what we're saying. Why? For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any point, right? It's the car, the body. So you might be thinking, well, we have said this number of times, but what happens? This is what you have heard about it. Have you realized it? Now, how do we know whether we have realized it? Realization means when something dear to you is lost, and that thing could be your favorite football, that could be your cricket ball, that could be your favorite textbook. Now, we are saying don't worry about this body, but what about the favorite thing you have? And now, like what Karthik said, of course we would like to be happy, but what makes us sad? What makes us sad? The attachment with things. Now, that doesn't mean that we should not have association. We should not attach with anything, but still we can utilize anything we want. Well, the driver is going to use the car for the purpose, but the driver should not get upset if something goes wrong with the car. Car is supposed to go bad at some point. You can buy the brand new car. It might go for 10 years, but the 10 years later car will not be as good as the brand new you bought 10 years ago. It doesn't really matter which brand, which make, which model you buy. Doesn't matter how expensive that car is. At some point, you will have to give that away. Yeah. And this is what we're saying. Doesn't really matter how good care you will have for this body, it will go away. But that doesn't mean we should not take care. We should do yoga. We should do all the sports. We need to maintain the car, but we should not get attached to the car. And this is where the realization comes in. And this is the reason why we do this again and again in a different way. And this is what Krishna has done to Arjun in different verses, again and again, the same concept. And of course, then gradually we move on to the next ones. But this is the first 6 chapters or first 5 chapters, what we have done so far. So this is what Krishna says. He's unborn. Who is unborn? The soul. He's unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval, which is like there was no origin. There was no time when the soul was not there. Well, of course, Krishna wasn't there. Krishna has always been there. He's not slain when the body is slain. So the body goes down, but the soul doesn't. And there are many more verses of that. And we have seen this like the garments. On the body, we change the garments. Right? If I will go out to play, I will have a t-shirt. If I'm doing the spiritual session, I'm going to have this. If I'm going to do a corporate one, I might change it. And this is what we happen. This is the garment. You don't attach with the garments. Yes, you need to have a good garment. Right? I'm not going to wear anything dirty or ripped off. No. But I will not get attached with it. If I'm not attached with things or people, I will always be happy. But I should always take care of them. Always, always take care of them. Right? So there are many more verses about it. And we have seen some of them. So we are moving fast. Now, this is what we have seen, the difference between body and soul. Body is matter. Soul is a spirit, like spiritual. And body is not conscious. Remember, well, Karthik might haven't remember because obviously you didn't hear that. There was a time, let's say you went to dream, right? So somebody will say, oh, I love you a lot. Now, where in the body the feeling of love is? In the brain or in the mind? When the body goes to sleep. Now, hang on. Did I say body goes to sleep? Really? Really? Wow. Something is at sleep. What is it? By the time we are sleeping, the body is there. Body is there, but we are not conscious. Are we conscious?
No.
No, we are not. So it's the consciousness which make body useful. The body itself is not consciousness. And it says the body changes, the soul doesn't. The body is temporary, the soul is eternal. Dead, always alive. Full. This is what conscious body appears to be. Like the car, we will see car is moving. And you say, wow, of course car is there. Car is alive. What do you mean? But no, the driver is there who is moving. Similarly, the soul is there which is moving. This is what Krishna is saying it. Now, there are many different facts about it. And now there is a mention of soul and super soul. So we have done it in the past. Let's just do it very quickly here again. So soul is human. So I'm a soul. I'm what we call Jivatma, or we call living entity. Living person is a human, Jiva in Sanskrit. And then super soul is God. So God is like sun. Sun is there and the sunlight, sun radiations falling over everywhere. So the Param Atma, and this is we call Atma is soul, Param is super. So in the body we have soul, and then we have a part of God, which is super soul. So we have two souls, but your soul and my soul is different. So Karthik got one soul and Govinda got one soul. We got different souls, but in you and in me, we have one same super soul. So if you and me, we are in a room, we have three souls there. Karthik soul, Govinda soul, and super soul. One soul, one Param Atma. That's one understanding of it. It's like sun. Doesn't really matter where you are, Karthik. The sun which is shining at your end, the sun shining at my end is the same sun. Yes, the sun radiations could be different. The energy of the God could be different, but it is the same sun. And then we say infinite, Anu. It says Anu and Vibhu. These are again Sanskrit words. So we are very, very, very small, Krishna says. And there are many verses in Bhagavad Gita we will see again. But Krishna says the soul is living entity, Jivatma. We are very small. But super soul is infinite. And of course, that's the reason it's there everywhere. Cognizance of one body. What is cognizance? It's like awareness. So the soul is there within my body. The soul in me is making my body conscious. The soul in me cannot make Karthik or Devesh or Ishan or Krishna Chaitanya's body aware. No, my soul can only make me conscious. But if we think about the God is everywhere and God's energy can make everything. That's the reason everything else non-living exists, where there is no soul. A living servitor is there, which means if you see the difference, that it's the relationship is like a father and child. So Krishna is a father and we all are children, and that's how we love it. So we have a lot of freedom with us. So there are many children, but there is only one father. So this is what we have seen. Now I'm just finishing this off. This is another verse. Nenam Jidan. I think Krishna Chaitanya knows this verse very nice. Nenam Jidanti Shastrani. Nenam Dahati Pavakan. I think Krishna Chaitanya knows many verses, and we do verse recitation as well. And if in case any one of you is interesting, let us know. Maybe we'll add you into that group where you could know when that happens, if in case that's what you are interested in. But Krishna Chaitanya knows many verses, and he knows verses from Bhagavatam as well. They are very, very nice verses. But basically this verse says that the soul cannot be cut. This is the Bhagavad Gita verse, chapter 2. We have seen this. The soul, nothing can happen to the soul. So COVID cannot do anything to it. The reason we say COVID, because COVID is there, right? And then this is rest of it. This is again part of what we call the knowledge about soul, the wisdom about soul. The very first knowledge Krishna gives to Arjuna in chapter 2 is about soul. So we have seen this, and there are many more. And Karthik, if you see, when you said, where is Bhagavad Gita? This is Bhagavad Gita. right? So based on Bhagavad Gita, we have the verses. We have the presentation based on Bhagavad Gita. Now again, when this series will end, we have one slide for each verse, and then we try to understand how Bhagavad Gita is so relevant even after so many years. If you think about, all this knowledge was there 5,000 years back when Krishna, before Kali Yuga started. It's been 5,422. No, sorry, 5,042 years roughly when Kali Yuga started. And when Kali Yuga was starting, before that, just before that, Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and everything was there. Now in Bhagavatam, Lord Buddha will come. This is also mentioned. The name Buddha is mentioned. But after Krishna, Buddha will come. And then of course, Kalki will come. So we have seen already Buddha being there with us, but Kalki hasn't. Kalki will come when the Kali Yuga is left, that last 10% of the Kali Yuga is left. Then, so all that knowledge is given in our Vedic scriptures. So just because we have seen this, we have done chapter 2. So I'm just summarizing this so we can understand. So again and again, this presentation, this segment of the presentation is who am I? So it's very clear we are not this body, we are soul. So all these verses we see, they all are giving the same one. Na jayate maryate va kadache nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya. Ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This is one of those verses we have seen it. And if you see right on the top in blue, this is the headline about the soul. So this is what, when you see everything around you, we need to meditate on it. That, we did that Krishna class. Krishna said to Arjuna, is that knowledge still valid? Is it? Or is just one of those things parents say, come and we attend? No, this knowledge is so relevant that there is no other knowledge. And Krishna says that as well. Having known this knowledge, no other knowledge is required. And if you think about it, a lot of people who got a lot of fame, like politicians are famous, right? Maybe the richest person we know, and then the most famous person we know, most influential people will know. But if you think about the history, a lot of these people, they have publicly announced that they are not happy. Richest people, they have been caught in corruption. Corruption is what they are not supposed to do. They have done it and they've gone down. Now, what was missing there? The missing was the content, the satisfaction. Why they were not satisfied? Because they didn't get the true understanding of Bhagavad Gita. What they couldn't understand, that they are not this body. They started working a lot more just for the material benefits. But we need to understand that it is the soul we need to work for. Body, the vehicle, we need to take care. Again, the analogy, always remember that there is a golden cage. And in the golden cage, we have a parrot. Right? We take care of the golden cage, but we don't feed the parrot. The parrot is the soul. The golden cage is the body. Right? Now, the cage is important. The vehicle is important. But more than that, the driver is important because the driver makes the car moving. The parrot is important. So materially, we need to be successful. But spiritually, we need to take care of the soul. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter how much successful we will be materially. It will not give us the happiness for long. Not long. I was in Midlands in Sheffield, and one of my senior friend, he had 5 restaurants, and he had more business out of it, but there were 5 restaurants and they were quite good. It's a small city as such. He was a millionaire. He was one of the top richest person of that city. And then he could not connect with his wife. His wife left him because he was too busy taking care of his business. And then his son was grown up. His son came back to him, and his son was there with him for a while. But then after a while, his son could not stay. So his son was a good friend of mine. He's still a good friend. And his son could not stay with him. Why? Because he felt the same thing, that his father is too busy accumulating money. And at the end, the wife left, the son left, and he lost all his business. Why? Because he was growing old. He was growing old. And I was there with him when he, from 5, he was only with one restaurant. And at the end, currently, he doesn't even have one restaurant. He got a big, nice house there, but he's not happy. He got a lot of money anyone could think in this country. But why? Because he was not spiritual. He only worked about his body. So we need to think about it now, how this affects us. How this affects us. This affects us when we are in the school. If you think about it, a lot of time when we play with friends, if we lose something, a game is lost, for example. How devastated. Oh, that's the end of the world. A chess competition. Now, 3 of our devotees, they are playing chess at the moment. So Rohan is there, and Jay is there, and Adi is there. All of them, so that's the reason they could not be here. And that's the reason we are thinking to change the time, because some of the devotees, they could not. And again, Tanmay could not make it because I think he has football. So we do need to think that all these things are important, but we don't need to get attached to them. If you will not get attached to things, and the more Bhagavad Gita we will see, the more relevant the context we will get, we will understand. We will understand that, well, it's just the way we change the garments. We are changing friends. We are changing the toys. And isn't it true? Maybe 5 years ago, if you remember, the toy, the favorite game, the favorite shirt, the favorite book, anything you were so attached with, you're not attached because you have moved on. But what usually happens, we get attached to something else. The grown-up people like me, we get attached to things. We get attached to a nice house. We get attached to the nice car. We get attached to the nice pen. But the attachment is the source of unhappiness. Again, this doesn't mean that we don't need to take care of anything. No, we need to take care of all of our things. But always remember, these things are there to use. But we are not dependent on these things, right? Our happiness should never be. But it says the size of the soul is given. 1/10,000, the size of the tip of the hair. This is given in one of the Upanishad, that if you take the tip of the hair, and then if you cut it 10,000 times, that size is the size of the soul we have in our body, which means it's minute, we cannot see. So this information, if you think about it, we don't find anywhere else. But in Vedic culture, we get it. This is another antiproton discovery was there. Again, those of us who are scientists, who love it, they can go and have a look if you want. If you want, by the way, I'm more than happy to share the presentation with you. You can have it, because again, I don't expect you to remember all that. But again, we will discuss it again and again, right? And that's the reason we do one series, then we move on. Like there was a time when we did Dashavatar. So Karthik, I don't know if you know about Dashavatar, but Lord Krishna or Vishnu, most of the people, as we remember, he has taken many incarnations. So Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, and Parashurama, right? So we had those 10 incarnation discussion as well, where every week we discuss one incarnation. For 10 days, we discuss the incarnation, one particular incarnation, and all stories about it. So currently, as I said, we are doing discovery of self. We are doing the journey of self-discovery. So that's the reason we are discussing this. The next topic we will discuss will be the purpose of creation, why the creation has been created. Right? So in this one, Now again, I don't think we need to go into that detail at the moment, but this is what Krishna says. This is 1856. My abode is eternal and imperishable. Krishna says about the spiritual world. And then what we could conclude from this segment, that we are not the material body, we are the spiritual soul, right? So we should always remember that. Always remember that. We have seen these things, the gross body. So we have two types of bodies. We have gross body and we have subtle body. Gross body made up of what we call Panch, 5, earth, fire, water, air, ether. This is what our body made up of. Subtle body. Subtle is what we can't see. Mind is there, right? So don't mind. Oh, people don't know where the mind is. False ego. This is where the feeling of I. This is me, mine. That feeling is false ego. Intelligence, the brain, right? So the gray material is there in brain, but what is intelligence? So these three things, they are subtle body. When we leave this body and we go, or the soul leaves the body and soul travels to the new body, the subtle body goes along with it, right? Again, we have seen this in past. This is the example where I said that we are taking care of the cage, but the parrot inside is not getting fed. So a lot of people, when they say, am I God? Well, we are not really God. Can we become? It says there are two classes of beings, the fallible and infallible. In the material world, every entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every entity is called infallible. So Bhagavad Gita, the reference is there, chapter 15, verse 16. This proves that we are material, well, we are the spirit soul in material body, right? So right at the end, and this is where we will leave, and I will, okay, so the quiz is there, but the time is up. We tend not to go over. And Karthik, it might be very overwhelmed with you. So for everyone else, hopefully you realize that we have done a lot of recap, but we have completed this Who Am I segment of this presentation, the journey of yours, journey of self-discovery. And next time, next Sunday, and I will confirm, I will check with other devotees who could not make it. If they would, well, some of them, they have already confirmed they will prefer 6. So maybe I will check with them again, and I will check with you as well. So please let your parents know if 6 to 7, like an hour later, because I know Devesh and Devika, they're in the States. So an hour later, if it will work for you, because otherwise we are missing. Some of the devotees, they are so kind, they are catching up on the recorded video. But again, being engaged. What we haven't done today, because we really wanted to get this off, Who Am I? Because we've been there for 3 or 4 sessions. We didn't do the poll today, which we usually do. Next time. Okay, next time we will do it. But next time we will start a new session, which is purpose of creation, and we will see a lot more interesting thing there. So with that, I'm here if you have any question. Otherwise, thank you for your association. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention, your consciousness. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Devesh and Devika. Thank you so much. And Hare Krishna. So Karthik, we are done for today. If you have any question on anything, please let me know. Otherwise, we